Well, good morning, all. Zach Eichenberger here, Director of Products and Services for CPSG. Thanks for joining. I hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. Just a heads up, we are recording this session so we can share that with others as we do. We are scheduled for 45 minutes to an hour today. That should leave us plenty of time for question and answer, but feel free to ask questions via chat during the presentation. I'll monitor that line and feed questions to Rob and team as they come up. We've also got Jason Copeland on the line, as well as a few others from the Optex group to help make sure those questions get answered thoroughly. So we have Rob Blair and the Optex team, as I mentioned, back on the channel today, introducing us to the latest generation of the OVS Virtual Loop. For those of you in the industry back in 2017, you know how this product took the industry by storm, offering an amazing alternative to installing traditional loops, which we all know can be challenging to install. And as I look back, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize how clean of a product launch that really was. It was a solid product right out of the gate, and the OVS 2 builds on that legacy with improved feature sets, based on lessons learned over the past 6 years. So I'd also mention, if you've not taken the step to implementing the virtual loop and putting that into your quiver of solutions, this would be a great opportunity to get familiar with the product for all its features and benefits. We have literally tens of thousands of units deployed in the field, working very successfully. So presenting today, we have the one and only Rob Blair, President of Optex Americas. As I mentioned, in addition to Rob, he's assembled a great team of sales and support experts to support us at a regional level across the nation. CPSG, by the way, is stocked up on the new OVS 2.0, so we are ready to rock and roll. They are on the shelf and available today. So Rob, welcome back to the channel. Always great to have you. What do you have for us today?
Thank you very much, Zach. I really appreciate it. For those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Rob Blair, and I'm the president of Optex here in North America. And we've worked very, very closely with CPSG over the last 6 or 7 years to introduce the first virtual loop, as Zach mentioned. And now we're very, very excited to release the Virtual Loop 2.0. This device, as Zach said, builds on the base technology of the first unit, but we've been able to improve it in certain ways, which I'll explain. And then in addition, we've taken lessons from the field from the first unit and improved not only the functionality, but the actual hardware and everything with respect to this device. So if you have used the first unit, I think you're going to be very interested to try this device. If you haven't used the OVS 01 GT yet, I think this would also be a good introduction to this technology that really does facilitate a much easier install versus a traditional loop. So with that, I'll get started. Zach, did we flip to the second screen?
Yep.
I always just want to make sure everything's working great. So introducing the Virtual Loop 2.0. This device not only solves some of the minor issues, as I said, with the original, but comes to the market with improved features and functions that will make it more reliable and easier to install and service. The Virtual Loop 2.0 is a vehicle presence sensor for use on gates and barriers. It uses distance measuring radar to detect vehicles of all sizes, and this technology has the unique capability of being able to ignore human movement. It eliminates the hassles of servicing and installing in-ground loops and gives the customer reliable activation and presence for the life of your gate. The basic function or value of an above ground loop is: one, no cutting or coring or drilling of the concrete or asphalt is required. It gives reliable presence detection for all types of vehicles. It's extremely stable under all types of weather conditions and can be programmed in most applications to ignore humans, but in certain applications, college campuses, things like that, with barrier arms that go up, and then you've got people trying to get underneath them. This can actually be programmed that once it triggers on a vehicle, its sensitivity goes up so that it can detect humans to provide a higher level of safety until that gate or that barrier is in the closed position again. And now what I want to do is talk about the new or advanced or improved functions of this specific device. And the first and foremost one is that now all of the settings are accomplished via a phone app. The previous version, if you're familiar, there's the little blue screen that you've got to get down and press those buttons and move the LEDs around to increase sensitivity or increase human canceling or the distance, which was fine. But this device will allow you to program the unit while you're standing up instead of getting down and face to face with the sensor, which is one. In addition, the app now has presets for just about every application. So you'll be able to scroll through the presets and see, oh, I've got a slide gate and I'm at 45 degrees and I want to do a free exit or activation. You press one button and it adjusts 99% of all the adjustments that you'll have to make. Then you calibrate, and 99% of the time, I think you'll be done. And in our testing, this has really increased the speed with which you can adjust this thing to the way that you want it to work, and is really functional. Once you or your installers have done this one or two times, they'll be able to really get through this very quick. I think that's one of the biggest advances of this unit. Second is that we've added a direct conduit access to the bottom. Previously, you had to use a single gang box. Now you can eliminate the single gang box and just flex directly into the bottom of the device. We also have a much more visible LED. Previously, you had to take off the front cover to see the red and green light as you were drive testing the device. Well, now we've got a light pipe that actually wraps 180 degrees, actually more than 180 degrees around the front of the unit. So you can be at any angle to this when the LED is turned on and easily see it turn from green to red, and then also have those other indications, which is very, very important to make it easier to install. Now we have adjusted the back plate so that if you do have a single gang box or you have an attachment to a single gang, our sensor will mount directly to that without having to have an adapter plate. This, I believe, is going to be one of the biggest values, is longer detection range. So the original unit was 18 feet maximum. Now we have up to 26 feet of presence detection maximum, and you can minimize that, I believe, down to about 6 feet. So you've got full functionality. If you've got a very large commercial opening, something like that, we can get much more further across that opening and cover that entire area with a single device. We've also made more flexibility in the power source. We will operate off of 12 or 24 volts AC or DC now. IP66 rated, so we're NEMA A4, very water resistant. The previous unit, its angled adjustment was only 30 degrees left or right from center. So in a lot of cases, you actually had to mount an L bracket or adjust the mounting location in order to get it to be able to look at where you wanted it to go. Now we've got a full 96 degrees left or right from center, more than 180 degrees of adjustability on this. So in a lot of cases, it's going to be very easy to adjust that detection area to where you need it to go. Now we also have two separate outputs. Previously, we only had one. These are electronically isolated relay outputs. So if the first one is activating your gate, the second one can be used to activate CCTV. If you want it to activate LPR, you want it to turn on a light, any notification of the property owner, you can use that second relay output for just about anything you'd like it to do. We have improved built-in heating. As you may know, or maybe you don't know, this unit, once the temperature gets close to freezing, an internal heater kicks on to keep the internal temperature of the device above freezing so it still operates normally, and also to keep any frost or snow or ice from building up on the outside of the device itself that might cause improper operation. So we've improved on the built-in heater functionality. And we have improved human cancellation with respect to being able to ignore groups of people loitering in front of the device. We believe it's a much more improved functionality for human canceling. Here's a couple of just applications, either on barrier arms, slide gates, swing gates. It can be used for vehicle safety. It can be used for free exit, reactivation, a shadow or center loop. This device can literally be used anywhere you would use a normal in-ground loop. Now what I want to do is show a brief, I think it's about a minute or 2 minute video. And please let me know, Zach, if the audio does not run, to show just some of the basic functions of the device. So give me a second here. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an insight into some of the new functions. And now if you'll bear with me, this is a slightly longer video, but this actually shows the steps to actually install the device. And I wanted to include this in this presentation just to show you how simple it is versus installing a loop or some of the other devices that are available. go. Very, very simple to install and adjust. I think it's going to be even easier to install than the previous unit. If you've used this before, you know that we also offer accessories such as mini posts, either for surface mounting on the road surface or on a curb. All of the accessories for the previous version are compatible with the new version, except for one, and that is the L bracket. The L bracket is only needed for the older version. It is not needed for the new version. So that's the only one that would not be compatible. And all these accessories are available through CPSG. For right now, we have no plan to discontinue the original version. It's a great device, and there's a slight, not very much, but there's a slight price difference between the two. So we want to be able to introduce the new version, get you familiar with that, and then if everybody likes that one and likes the features of that one and wants to move to that, then we might think about end of lifing the original, but not probably for the next year or 2 years. Just to make sure that if there are people that really want to use that one, they can get to it. Here's my crack team of salespeople and tech support people. We really appreciate all the business that you guys have given us over the last 5 or 6 years, and look forward to reaching out and talking with you about this new device and getting them out in the field to your customers. Jason, while you're going through the Q&A, if everybody would like, you can actually scan these QR codes right off the screen and download the free app onto your phone. So if you are going to give this a try, you'll already have it on your phone when you get out into the field. Jason, are there any interesting questions that we should go over?
Yeah, there was just a couple. The first one was whether you connect to it by way of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, and it is a connection with Bluetooth to a smart device. You just have to download the app with this QR codes or just find it by searching the App Store. So that is the first one. And then the second one is asking about the microwave range being adjustable. And it is adjustable just as easy as a scroll bar, but anywhere between 7 and 26 feet is adjustable range on the microwave. And then one more just came in. Are the outputs normally open and normally closed? Yes, there's an option in the O1. You could push a button to change the state of the relay to either normally open or normally closed. On the O2, this version, you're going to wire it in. It's going to have options for both on the wiring terminal. So you're going to wire it in either normally open or normally closed, whatever you use it for.
Very good. And isn't there another function for programming the relay output so that it acts more like a loop?
There is, as far as ground loops, traditionally, you can use functions such as like a pulse in on the ground loop and a pulse out. Our previous version, the O1 of this, did not have it. It was just a holding relay on detection. This version will have an option for pulse in and pulse out on the detection for the microwave. So it will actually function more like a ground loop and have more options for automation and different solutions for gates and barrier arms and parking and however you're using it.
Very good. Yeah. So it's much more functional than the first one. Currently, I believe all CPSG branches have these units in stock. If they're not in stock as of today, they will be hitting their shelves within the next several days. All the initial stocking orders went out last week, so they will be stocked up and ready to go. And then that toll-free number there, once you have this unit and you're out in the field, if you have any questions at all, you call and you'll get Jason or Daniel or John, all very knowledgeable, and we'll walk you right through the initial setup and be able to get your gate up and running in no time.
Rob, there was a few more questions that came in. An option for presence. Yes, the relay's factory setting is holding, so it will work exactly like the O1 did. On detection and presence of a vehicle, we'll just hold the relay closed. That's the one that's standard. How well does it work during rain, snow, and fog? There is no visual aspect to this sensor. It's just a constant microwave, and it's working off reflection off of whatever comes into its path. And when that reflection gets large enough, then it can decide that this is a vehicle, and I want to go ahead and initiate that relay. The angle, can the angle also be changed through the app? So the degree of angle, actually, you just rotate the sensor itself. It's kind of, it's in a circle, and you can kind of just rotate a full 96 degrees off zero either way. There are more. Let's see, are any concerns about motorcycles being canceled or not being sensed? This sensor, you can program it to only detect large vehicles. You can program it to detect something as small as people. It can be turned on to be very sensitive and just pick up everything. So like, for instance, if you're using it under a barrier arm and you wanted to have a little added extra protection for people, you could actually have it detect people and reverse the arm back up and not land on their head. So that's programmable as far as how sensitive you want it to be. The next one is, would be sufficient at a maximum security site class 3 installation. Would you want to answer that, Rob?
Well, I'm not super familiar with the requirements of that, but if you have any kind of documentation, I could look at it. This has been used by the government in sally ports for military sites. So I would say yes, although I don't know right off the top of my head. I've never dealt with that specifically, but if you've got specifications or things like that, you can get my contact information off our website, which is listed optexamerica.com, and email me directly, and I would be happy to look into that for you.
Yeah, a class 3 is going to be a commercial site, not servicing the general public. So for a class 3, absolutely.
Yeah.
A class 4 would be those higher security application where there's a guard present and it's being monitored by security personnel. So
Yeah.
I would also say the answer is yes. In some of those cases, we're going to want to take some additional precautions where you're probably, not sensing people. So you're setting it up to perhaps not sense people, because we're going to want that to close most likely in those situations.
Yeah, and in that sally port application, Zach, we actually utilized 2 sensors placed, I think, about 5 or 6 feet apart, and they were series together so that both of them had to see the vehicle in order for the relay to close and for the gate to release. And that was specifically so that if a person got in there and tried to defeat one of them, or with putting a piece of metal or something in front of it, it would be very difficult for them to do both at the same time. So there are ways to make it even more stable against human movement than it already is.
Which is a cool function of this product is, you can have multiple sensors in a zone and they're not going to crosstalk or affect the behavior of the other sensor.
That's right. Yep.
And Rob, Jake gave our tech support a thumbs up. So thank you, Jake. And then the last question so far is, are there some sort of security cages for these units so they can not be tampered with? The 01 does have a, they call it, it's basically like a wire mesh cage that's pre-designed for it. And we have not designed one for the 02 as of yet. We were going to get a feel for, sales, and if it becomes a request. Rob, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but we haven't actually designed that as of yet. But we don't sell a whole lot for the 01, so I think we were kind of waiting to see how much of a demand it would be.
Yeah, Jason, thank you. When we first came out with this device, that was one of the concerns we had, was vandalism. And as long as the LED is turned off, it really kind of blends in. And to date, I'm not aware of any units that have been vandalized. That was one of the big concerns that we had. Not to say that it can't happen, but in actual field applications, I have yet to have somebody send me a picture of something that was, hit by, damaged in any way other than maybe a vehicle running into it inadvertently. But that being said, if that is something that is important, we can absolutely look into that. Those devices are fairly easy to to make, and I could get a prototype out to you pretty quick. I think, Jason, what's the company that makes?
Lyco.
No, Torxon is
Torx.
actually designing a what do they call that? A sensor vault for this device. So that's a separate company, and we've been working with them because they make a really good looking. And they call it a sensor vault, and that should be available in the next month or two. Any other questions?
That's it.
Hey, Rob and Jason, while those come in, I was hoping to make a couple distinctions. So as I listened to this presentation from, somebody that's, kind of been there since day one, I looked at the difference between the O1 and the O2. The list is long. There is a bunch of really solid improvements here. But I wanted to go back to just some of these questions and add a little bit of clarity. One major difference between the O1 and the O2 is in terms of the programming. So to be very clear, the O1 is programmed at the unit, right, through a series of steps and buttons that you're going to program the unit. The 2.0 is 100% programmed via the app, right, Jason and Rob? So you will need an app to program that. But along with that comes all these features, which are fairly significant, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think one of the biggest ones, as I said, was these presets. So if you or your technician is out in the field and they have, let's say, for example, 75% of the applications are the same, they basically press two buttons. They press the specific setting they want, and then they calibrate. Oh, no, three. The setting they want, the distance that they want, and then calibrate. And 98% of the time, that'll be all they have to do. Adjust the angle, calibrate, and you're done. It's very, very simple. The other thing is that if, let's say, for example, you find a customized setting that really works well for your gates, and you want to use that again, that isn't one of the presets, you can save that and then download that into the next device that you install. So that's another advantage of this device. Jason, are there any other advantages of the app? The top of my head.
Not having to get on your knees to hit the buttons at the 20-inch mark. You also can walk around in front of it and see live detection on your phone and actually have it chime when you walk around and when you're doing your testing mode, basically, to make sure you're aimed right. That has the capability to do that live right in front of you. Those are primarily the functions. Yeah. If you're talking to tech support, we can send you a 2D code to download to there. For whatever reason it's not making sense of how to program it, so we can actually send you a programming code to download and push to it as well.
So you can actually program the sensor for them and then have them just download that directly to the sensor.
Correct. Yeah, we should be able to text them that 2D code, and then they just download that 2D code into the app, which is just basically like taking a picture of a QR code, and then they just push that programming in, calibrate it, and set the distance of the microwave, and they're good to go. Okay. Rob, there were a couple more things that came in. Jake once again says he's installed a few hundred of the GT and the CCs without cages. The only damage he's seen is from snow plows. Another visitor said, if I have a few of the older ones in stock, can I trade in and pay the difference for the O2? Let's see. I'm not sure how you want to answer. I'll let you answer that, Rob.
No, just reach out to your local CPSG branch and we'll work with you guys on that. And if we need to reach out to Jason, Rob, your team, we certainly will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'd love to get these new ones in your hands.
And Jose is asking, does it work properly when covered by snow? So it does need to have a clear field of view from the sensor to the vehicle or whatever you're trying to see. So It can work in the snow. You do not want to have a snowbank in front of it. It will need a clear field of view. So make sure that the road, the plow doesn't push a bank of snow in front of it. It should be fine beyond that. What is the price comparison compared to the 01?
I believe that the new version is going to be about $30 to $40 more expensive than the original. So it's not a huge amount of difference, but believe me, that the added features are definitely worth it.
Yeah, reach out to a local CPSG location and get a quote on it. We've taken some steps to kind of mitigate the price difference because we see all the benefits of the new product.
Well, there you go. Another reason to go to CPSG. Thank you.
And then Dorian asks, can you use this to create a hold open on a gate? So basically like a supplementary safety is what I'm guessing he's asking about. And yes, if you set this up with the options that it showed, on whatever type of gate or barrier I'm using it on, we can have this. If a car is in the zone, we can have this hold as long as you want it to infinity if you set it for that, as low as 5 minutes. So it's programmable to hold a gate open if a car is in the zone.
I think you might want to clarify that question. Are you asking, can you kick the relay with your app and lock the gate open? Was that the question?
It says, can you use this to create? Oh, okay. So he said, yes, that was the question, what you just said, Rob.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. Is that Jason?
It is not. We cannot force the app to trigger the.
But that sounds like, can you make a note and get that back to Tom? Because that sounds like a great function, to be honest with you. That's a great idea.
Keep in mind, I just want to make sure we're all clear that this is a Bluetooth app, so you'd have to be within range of the sensor versus doing that remotely.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool.
He says he'll take a check for that, Rob.
Okay. All right. What was his name? I can't see the chat.
Dorian.
Dorian. It'll be the Dorian function. Dorian 1.0. Great questions.
I think this is one of these products I could talk all day about because it was so influential, such a kind of a market shaper. But there's a couple things I want to make sure we touch on. We get a lot of questions about what happens when it snows, what happens when it rains, what happens when there's heavy fog, right? And to dive a little bit deeper, there's algorithms. It's a very smart sensor, right? It is monitoring the environment at all times. So if it sees, fog that's moving, rain, snow that's moving, it adjusts for that based on the algorithm. So it works very well in those types of situations. There's a heater built in to kind of make sure that the unit stays clear. Now, again, if the snowplow comes through and builds up a bank of snow in front of the sensor, yes, it will lock that thing depending on how it's set up. It will put that relay on. So, but in terms of just general weather, deals very, very well with general weather.
Absolutely. Yeah. You hit it right on the head. We've got a pretty advanced algorithm that can because this technology is reflective technology that's sensitive to two things: large pieces of metal and large bodies of water. So that's why it was very difficult for us originally to ignore people, and that's why we have to have it mounted 20 inches off the road surface, because that is looking at the part of the human body where the minimal amount of water is your legs. It's a minimum amount of mass. So what we've done is we've put this sensor out in the rain, and we've analyzed what that looks like when rain is falling through the sensor. And we built that into the algorithm to basically ignore that. And the same thing with snow. Even if snow builds up slowly on the road surface, we will adjust for that. If snow keeps building up and eventually goes over the top of the sensor, then yes, there's really nothing we can do about that until that's road's cleared. But the road has to be cleared anyway, so the vehicles can get through. So 9 times out of 10, they'll clean that off. It'll clear off the view of the sensor, and we're back and running again. So
Hey, Rob,
And
Jake, oh, I'm sorry. Did you have something to add to that, Zach? Go ahead.
well, I was gonna comment about Jake's message there, and yeah, Rain-X is a great kind of way to ensure that your photo beams don't get interrupted by fog and condensation on a reflector or a sensor. No, but just to make sure that we're clear that photo beams are way more sensitive to that kind of buildup of condensation and fog and things of that nature. It's a great way to improve the performance of your photo beams. Not a bad idea for, I suppose, your Optex either. It just kind of gives a little slick sheen to the face of that sensor, and anything that hits it's going to kind of beat up and roll off. But this is going to be more reliable in those heavy fog situations, especially.
Yeah. Rain-X definitely couldn't hurt, but since this is not an optical technology, it's a reflective technology. It's less affected by that. But yeah, and the heater, as Zach said earlier, the heater really kind of keeps any moisture or condensation or anything from building up on the sensor itself.
We had one more thing come in from Dorian said, can the unit be installed looking down at an area? Do you want to answer that, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. We have had in, let's say, for example, parking garages, where you've wanted to be able to have a free exit, and the only place you can mount it is on the ceiling. Yes, you can do that, but you have to adjust the distance at least 3 feet off of the road surface. You get it too close to the road, and you're going to get too much reflection off the road. So typically, if it's, let's say a 10-foot ceiling or 12-foot ceiling, you make it 6 to 8 feet and make sure you're not going to see all the way to the ground. And we've had that work reliably in the past for free exit on barrier arms out of parking garages and things like that, if that's the application you were thinking about.
Rob, we have another product for that though, right? The Explorer? Or
Yes, we do. Thank you. Yeah. We have a device that's called the OVS Explorer. It's actually an industrial door sensor that has not only activation but safety as well, and it's specifically designed to be mounted on the ceiling or above an opening, and that's also available at CPSG. Yeah, good call. Thank you.
There was also another one that came in from Michael saying, what about a cover accessory for this sensor? And I'm not sure what he means by cover accessory.
Well, typically, I think for a photo beam, sometimes you can put a little bit of a cover over the top of it to keep water and stuff from getting on the front. That's really not necessary with this one. It's designed to be mounted in direct rain, snow, what have you. We've got the plastics we use are very, very resistant to UV, and I believe the mean time between failure for the plastics is like 10 years. So you really, really won't have a problem with that.
Okay. And then the last question so far, other than where can they get it or when will it be available, is will the sensor ever pick up the gate arm? And the answer is yes, it can. There is very specific measurements in the manual about how far they want it off the arm, or it's usually about a foot off or something like that. I don't know what the exact manual says.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a barrier and you're mounting it on the barrier beneath the barrier arm, you want to keep, this is really critical, at least 12 inches from the top of the sensor to the bottom of the barrier arm minimum. And the other measurement you have to be careful of, remember originally I said that for the best human cancellation, you should be 20 inches from the road surface, not from the curb, but from the road surface to the bottom of the sensor, and no less than 12 inches from the top of the sensor to the bottom of the barrier arm. So, and that, I believe that's in the manual as well, right, Jason?
Correct.
Yeah.
And just make sure there's nothing hanging down off the barrier arm, like a sign or something like that could interfere with it as well. And if you need to, You can rotate probably as much as 15 degrees away from the sensor, the arm, for it not to be detected. You can do that as well.
Yeah.
Options there. And then they asked, what is the availability? Sorry if it was previously addressed, but those were all sent out. The orders to all CPSG branches were sent out late last week, and majority of them should have them or be getting them in today or tomorrow.
Absolutely. So place those orders, please. We want to hear your reaction to this device. We're really excited about it.
Yep. Yeah, either in stock or just about to be in stock, but reach out and get a quote ASAP. Everything's in the system and ready to rock and roll. There's a couple other features here that I'm really excited about. I think the 12 to 24 volt AC/DC is really nice. Having that flexibility, for your various operators that are out there that didn't have the secondary voltage we were looking for. So in some cases, maybe no need to add a secondary transformer, but never a bad idea. I think the ability to visually and through the app understand exactly where that zone is a massive improvement, right? Where historically with the first version, you'd set the zone based on the programming, but you didn't know without testing and just driving vehicles through there or whatnot, you didn't know exactly where that zone was set up for. So nice job adding that and implementing that to the unit.
Hey, Rob Dorian asked,
go ahead.
He says, I'm assuming that this will also work with non-UL machines. Do you want to answer that or you want me to?
You can.
So just so we're clear, this device is not a UL 325 device. So it is designed primarily as either supplementary safety or just a vehicle sensing device, very much like a ground loop would be. I mean, you wouldn't use ground loop on those, but absolutely will work with any of these pre-UL operators because we're just sending a close and open relay, however you wire it in.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Is there a low power setting for solar applications? Do you want to answer that, Rob, or do you want me to?
You can. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so as far as the power requirements, there's 3 settings for the heater. There's high power. It's going to pull upwards of almost 300 milliamp. There's a normal power, can operate at just under 200 milliamp. And then there's turning the heater off. We'll bring the standard function of this to about 80 milliamp max draw with the heater off. And so it's not great for solar, but as long as you build the solar array and the batteries to match, this will work for solar.
Yeah, and we are working on that. We understand that there's a lot of solar applications out there. We've been advised by some of the manufacturers that less than 40 milliamps would be optimal. So we're working on that. But this is an active technology, meaning it's transmitting a signal, it's transmitting a radio wave, and we also, really need that heater in colder climates. But typically, you don't need the heater, if you're down in the Sun Belt, for example. So in those areas, that's where you would be using solar. So we're getting closer. I think I wouldn't call us solar friendly quite yet, but stand by because we're really working to try to get the sensor to be able to get down that low. But it is a little tricky being able to reduce the current draw without reducing the functionality of the sensor itself. So we're perfecting it. Give us a little bit of time.
And Jason said it well, right? Build the solar array to accommodate. We can help you with that. We just need to engineer it accordingly. Solar is not as expensive as it used to be. We can get larger panels, bigger batteries. Batteries have gone up for sure, but solar panels in a lot of cases have come down over the years. So we just got to build it accordingly.
Good.
One more question from Jake. If heater was switched within sensor, then it could be turned off for solar applications. Yes. Yeah, in the app, you can decide how you want that heater to function.
Yeah. Good. Any other questions?
Not yet.
This has been really interactive. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you. We had a lot of people on, almost 80
Yep.
at one point in time.
Yeah,
Yep.
74. Yeah.
Good group, a lot of good questions. Again, I could probably talk for another hour on this. It's been such a game changer. But if you're not familiar with it, again, reach out for more information. Again, those additional features for you parking folks, pulse on entry, pulse on exit, some of the things you've been asking for. We use them for, as you can see here, barrier, slide, swing, really any automated gate. We use it for activation loops on RFID or ticket spitters. But what a time saver, right? From saw cutting into asphalt or concrete, or trying to install in gravel or removing pavers. This really solves those challenges. Post-tension buildings that have parking structures where you're worried about post-tension. Really a game changer from that regard. The other kind of pro tip is having one of these on the vehicle at all times, on the service truck at all times. It's Friday afternoon and you got a loop go down. This thing can be installed, in less than an hour in many cases to, get you through the weekend or become, a permanent installation versus a traditional loop. So lots of rationale around why you'd want to engage with these products.
And Jason did one more question. I think he's talking about the heater. He's asking if we can turn it off by temperature or by setting it off. When you do turn the heater on, it doesn't automatically turn on. It only turns on when it reaches a certain temperature, and that temperature is very close to freezing. So that's when it actually turns on, is below that temperature. Even if it's turned on in the app, it's not running constantly. So that is only a function when it gets that cold.
Yeah, it's always thermostatically controlled.
Clarification.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we will, like I say, send out some more information after this webinar. Anybody that's registered will receive those data points, as well as a recording of this session if you want to share it with others. But next step is reach out to CPSG, get a quote, put an order in. We're ready to rock and roll here. And we'll follow up with more information here soon. So Jason, Rob, thanks so much. You guys always do a fantastic job presenting.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right. Have a great rest of the day.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.